Because you just start touching it.
Okay. Oh. All right. This is the Millennium Feathernet, and yes, it is named after the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars. It's the coolest thing in the galaxy. All right. So the fastest is the coolest. Okay. So there's 1,000 laying hens here. So these are laying hens, not meat chickens. These are laying hens. And so this netting here is space age technology. There's a stainless steel thread woven through the polyethylene that conducts the charge, the spark. There's a solar energizer right up here, sitting there, and that energizer, I have it turned off right now, so it's okay. But that solar energizer powers the fence, and it keeps the chickens in, and it keeps the coyotes and foxes out. So who would have thought 50 years ago that you could have a coyote, fox, chicken-proof fence that only weighs 12 pounds per 150 feet, and you can take up and put down that barrier in 10 minutes? Who would have thought? So this is a perfect example of information technology as opposed to mass technology. If you wanted to build a barrier that would keep coyotes and foxes and possums out and chickens in 50 years ago, it would have been a very big, impressive barrier, right? Heavy, strong. Now, with this information dense technology, it takes the mass out of it, it takes the concrete out of it, it takes the weight out of it, and you run by by innovation rather than by mass, by weight. So these guys get moved about every 3 or 4 days. You see up there where they've been, and so these are like contiguous or adjacent circles. All right. So you set up one fence. You set up one fence, then you set up another fence, and you get ready to move them. You open them both up at a waist. You hook up here to the tractor. Everything just pulls through. The chickens walk into the next circle. You close that one, and then you pick this one up, and you move it up here, and you just leapfrog around the field through. So the chickens are never totally free. They're always enclosed by the netting. The house is on skids. So it's an A-frame on an X-truck on skids, so it can't roll or slide. It'll take wind. We also use an eggmobile. Now we didn't go by the eggmobile because it's closed down. We just emptied it out for the season. We're not using it right now. But the eggmobile follows the cows, and the chickens sanitize straight through the cow patties. So they're two totally different models for two totally different objectives. The eggmobile's on rubber tires. No restriction. Chickens, we want them to go as far as they can. Follows the cows on rubber tires, okay? The goal here is egg production. The eggmobile, eggs are just a byproduct of that process. Here, eggs are the product, okay? And so, same kind of chickens, all pastured, but two very different models for two different objectives, okay? Right here is a time, I think, to make a point that good farming should be aesthetically and aromatically, sensually romantic. All right? If it's ugly and or it stinks, it's probably not good farming. And if just those two rules were applied to agriculture, it would fundamentally change the way all of our food and farming is done in this country. So again, it's movement. This is a train. That's the feed buggy in front, and it just moves right along through the field. Questions? Yes? Okay, the question is, what kind of chickens are these? Do they give us 5.5 eggs a week? No. These are purebred. We don't use any hybrid chickens in our laying. They're all purebreds, well, except for ones we're hatching. Those aren't, but they're just they're not a strategic hybrid. So these birds don't lay like the golden comets and the hybrids. They're a bigger body, so they will lay at peak production maybe 5 eggs a week, but at lowest production they'll still lay 2 eggs a week. So they don't go as high, but they don't go as low because they're a little bit hardier. So so that's what we use for these, and we think the bigger bodied bird is a lot healthier because that egg is not extracting as much body energy every day. These real high egg layers cannot give you the same nutritious egg because they're taking so much energy from that chicken every day. So we want a bird that doesn't lay quite as well in order to give us more energy, to have enough leftover energy for her and to be able to put it in that egg. So how many dozen eggs do we sell each week? Right now we're getting about 200 dozen a day. Now, not just from these. We have 4 of these. They're on rental farms. So, yeah. Question? Yes.
How do you keep up with age on the ones you're breeding?
How do you keep up with age on the ones we're breeding? All right. So we do an all flock in, all flock out. So these all came at one time. They're one flock. So we know who the old ones and who the young ones are. So when we get ready to select our breeding flock in the spring, we'll go to our oldest birds and select the hens from that flock. And then we'll put a set of roosters on them that we held over from roosters from this year. All right. And so the hens are old, the roosters are young. Okay. And we put those together. You know, it's certainly not a perfect breeding program, but it's as close as we can get fairly easily. You know, with what we're doing. Yeah, great question. Yeah. Feed consumption. These will eat about 4 ounces per chicken per day. 4 ounces per chicken per day.
Now, obviously, this way of managing it reduces the cost on feed. What's the percentage? 50%, 30%?
This doesn't reduce any feed costs because they're getting so much exercise that they burn off they burn off some calories from the carbohydrates in the feed. So it doesn't save any feed costs. What it does give you is an edible egg. An egg with a different omega-3, omega-6 ratio, a different fat ratio. Our eggs, we participated in a study several years ago, Mother Earth News did. 12 of us in the country submitted our eggs for analysis to compare them to the USDA nutrition label on an egg carton in the store. Did about 12 different nutrients. One I'll just mention to you is folic acid, which is really important for pregnant women. And the USDA label says that an egg has 48 micrograms per egg. Our eggs average 1,038 micrograms per egg. So, you know, we're not talking about 10% deviations here. We're talking about, you know, Pluto and the moon. I mean, there's huge difference. Thanks for the question. Another question. Weathering, okay. Weathering over the winter. So over the winter, they go in all those hoop houses up there at the house, where we were up at the house. That's where they spend the winter. Okay? So we'll watch the weather, and as long as it's pretty nice, normally we can stay out here until almost Thanksgiving or even after Thanksgiving. So somewhere, give or take a week from Thanksgiving, these birds, we'll pick them up and we'll take them to the hoop house for the 100 days of hard winter. They'll come back out about March 1st. So we're in about 100 days and out for the other days. Now, while they're inside, they get deep bedding. Remember, deep bedding, we want them on compost. And in the winter, we give them whole grains to spread on the floor. They eat about 75% of it right then, and about 25% of it, like barley, oats, wheat, sift down into the bedding, which is warm because it's composting and has the hoop structure. It sprouts, and then the chickens dig for those sprouts, which keeps the bedding composting with aeration and gives them fresh sprouted grains in the wintertime.
What are you using for bedding for that then? Old hay or your wood chips?
Bedding in the hoop houses?
Yeah.
Wood chips.
Wood chips.
Yeah.
You use straw?
No, straw packs together. It laminates, and so when it packs together, then you get this real soggy, they can't scratch it, they can't aerate it, all right? And so the wood chips are friable, so they can scratch it, dig in it, move it around, and aerate it, which then makes it active compost because it's getting oxygen. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you are using straw, for example, I ran into a guy, a dairy farmer in Ontario, and he saw we were doing some piggerating and all that stuff, but he didn't have any woods. He didn't have the access to wood products. So what he did, he grew 2 acres of long-stemmed rye, you know, the old kind that your great-grandfather, you know, is like 8 feet tall. He was able to make, I think he told me, 800 little square bales an acre. So he made 1,600, 2 acres, 1,600 little square bales. So he let it get old until it made seed. So it was almost like straw, but it had the seed in it. He didn't have to put anything into bedding. He bedded his cows with that, put the pigs in. The rye seed was already there. The pigs turned it all up, so it composted in situ. And when it composted, the pigs had already torn it all up. You could dig it out real easy. You know, if you've ever mucked out stalls with straw, you know, it'll break your back and cut up your fork, you know. But if the pigs have already torn it up, it's compost. It's just friable and fun to work with. Yeah. Any other questions? How do we move to the hoop house? We do it at night. When at night they go to sleep, and we come out with a bunch of crates, and we kind of set up a fence, and all hands on deck, and we just catch them, put them in crates, and take them back. So it's, you know, and then hopefully Teresa's made chocolate pudding for us to all go in and eat after it's done. The point is, you can either call it a chore, or you can say we're having a chicken moving party. You know, it's all how you look at it and how you set it up. Yeah, great question. Yes, ma'am. Do we use guardian livestock dogs? You saw one up at the sheep. Yes, we do. We only have the one right now for the sheep. We've had one for a long time, and he didn't make it this summer. So we lost him, Michael. Some of you might remember Michael that you've been here before. But with these chickens, we have found the best guardian for them are guard geese. And the guard goose that we had got taken. Sometimes the guardian animals they sacrifice themselves. Yeah, thank you. They sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And so, but guard geese are very compatible with this. They work very well. And guard geese are completely non-discriminatory guards. They hate everybody and everything. If you've ever been chased by a goose, you know, they're pretty aggressive. And a good guard goose is a very valuable bird.
150 of them up for adoption in Richmond.
The reason for the guard goose here is aerial predators. The fence is great on ground predators, but it doesn't stop aerial predators. One of the things that stops aerial predators is simply the size of the flock. The more birds you have in a flock, the less a predator attacks it because it looks actually intimidating to a predator to come into a large flock. So that's why people with only 10 birds or 12 birds have a way higher predator rate than a larger flock, simply because it's less intimidating to predation. Maybe one more question and we're going to go. Yes, ma'am.
Overlapping grazing chickens and cows, do you do that?
Overlapping chickens, cows, all that. Yes. So where we are right now was grazed by the cows. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, and 5 is 8. 9 days ago, the cows were right here. And they grazed this because the chickens like short grass the chickens can't. The chickens can't metabolize a real long blade. They like fresh, nice little new blades. And so by mowing with the cows or the sheep to shorten it, the chickens actually eat more grass. They eat more grass if it's short than if it's long because they can actually masticate it. A cow loves this length, or something long, but a chicken, that's a little more difficult. Now a turkey is not intimidated by this. A turkey will take that right down. But a chicken, that's a little bit intimidating. The chicken wants something, chicken likes something more like that. Yeah, bite size. Beak size. Yeah. All right. One more.
Last question for you. Have you ever thought about identifying one of them in the forested area as well? Maybe a pasture adjacent to forest so they can run in and out a little bit further?
Yeah, so it's a great question about running them in a forested area. The chickens certainly like a forested area, so the eggmobile, where the birds are totally free range and not bound by a fence, okay? Those chickens do go into the woods a lot, and they love the woods. They go because they can go anywhere. The woods become problematic because you can't move the shelter, you can't set up food, so this gets problematic. But for the eggmobile, it's fine. Now, the pig, we talked about the pigs doing the composting. Right now, the pigs are not composting. They're all out in pig pastures, which are silvopastures. Widely spaced trees, grass in between, that we have created by pruning back junk trees, leaving good ones, and so it's a silvopasture concept. And the pigs move every 5 to 12 days through their half-acre cottage, just like everything else. But we don't run the pigs in these pastures because they tear them up too